Hey guys, welcome back. It is now week 6. This is our real first lesson in week 6, although we had an intro video last time. But today, what we're going to talk about, if you had to title this, is what is so great about faith? What's the big deal about faith? Up to this point, we've established pretty well that following Jesus involves growing in our faith, growing in our knowledge of who God is, and just knowing more and more about who he is, what he does, how he thinks, how he feels. To continue with our train analogy, if the railroad that we're on, the rails are that we're headed towards maturity, if that's what we're doing, then faith would literally be the first car. It would be the engine, because faith drives everything we're going to talk about this whole week. Faith is the foundation. It is the powerhouse. And it's easy for you and I to think about faith a lot of times as just only the thing that gets us in. It's only salvific. It only brings us from death to life, which is true. It is the catalyst and it is the mechanism by which we're born from death to life in Jesus, according to Ephesians 2:8-9. It's true, but that's just incomplete. Faith is more than that. Faith is important and fundamental, the important and fundamental thing that we need to be saved, true, but it's also the basis of the understanding of everything that exists around us, seen and unseen. Hebrews 11:3 tells us this. It says, by faith, we understand that the worlds, the universe, the cosmos, in which we live and are created, that it was created by the Word of God, and everything that we can see, touch, taste, and experience and know is made out of things that we can't see, touch, taste, feel, and know. That there's this invisible to the human eye and sometimes to the human mind reality out there. We would call that the spirit world, where God lives, but there's this reality behind that. Now, in Hebrews 11, it tells us that it's the faith is the thing that is the reality, that is the substance of everything we hope for. It's the evidence of all the things that we cannot see. It's literally the tangible substance of our very existence. 1 John 5:4 says that it's our faith that is the victory that has overcome the world. Some of you have been around long enough to remember that old hymn, that faith gives us that victory that overcomes the world. 2 Corinthians 5:7 says our faith more accurately will guide our path than even our sight. That we're supposed to walk and follow Jesus by faith, by what we know in faith, versus what we can see and think we know by sight. Galatians 2:20 says that our faith in Jesus, in the Son of God, is the source of our real life, our spiritual life. And that's the life that matters. I often say to people, it just occurred to me a few years ago, and I don't even remember why or the context, but we think of ourselves as our being as being a body. That is our person, and within that person, there contains a soul. We've got that backwards. Our person, the reality of who we are, is a soul that just so happens to temporarily be housed in a body. And when we get that right, that's how we can, by faith, understand that even death and suffering and things that might come our way are not the end of the world. And so when we realize that faith is literally the fuel that powers all of our growth, all of our maturity, it becomes extremely important and imperative, I would even say life-sustaining, for us to grow and exercise our faith. We should be pursuing stretching that faith every opportunity that we can. Because as we stretch and as we grow our faith, what it does is it positions us in the right place between us and God, and it gets our mind square in the right place to be able to follow through with the next step that we're talking about this week, and that's obedience. And we're going to talk about that in the next video. But before you move on, I want you to answer the discussion questions just underneath this in the lesson. And once you've finished, reply to at least 2 answers from your classmates. Now, I do want to clarify, you don't need to reply twice to all 4 questions for somebody. You don't need to have 8 replies. Just pick 1 or 2 that stood out to you and then engage in a conversation there, even if it's just 1 or 2 comments with a classmate. Now, if you feel impressed to comment on all 4 because they touched you and they meant something to you, feel free to do that, but that's not required. In the next video, we're going to talk about how faith leads to obedience. I'll see you over.